who was raised by a father who's very much a thinker and an active Christian, and he was raised to welcome questions in his faith, which is not always the case with faith. Sometimes people want you to not think, but his father basically challenges him to keep questioning, even when you don't always get the answers, like some famous biblical characters like Job. So I loved that whole aspect of like, God made you this way, and you need to engage and wrestle with God, with the way God made you. And yeah.
I'm so glad you like that story because
It's my favorite.
I know you're going to ask me what my favorite is, and that is my favorite
Oh,
story.
it is. That's my favorite too. We have that in common too. Okay, because I was going to ask you that, and I didn't know if it was like children, like where you couldn't pick a favorite one, but you just picked a favorite one.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. Yeah, and I can
Why
tell
is it
you
your
why. I
favorite?
think this story, as a creative, I think we're all creative, right? Like we're creative in different ways. When you go into the kitchen, how you figure out how to cook your meal, there's creativity there.
Yes.
There's something that happens when you're writing, at least for me, right? You kind of have to sit. There's some times where I'm like, I don't know where the story is going. I don't know what I'm going to write, but I have to sit and then start. And this story, what God did with this story is really what makes it my favorite, because I feel like I had lots of thoughts. I mean, there are pieces of me in that story. I'm a thinker as well. And then there are just pieces of different African men that I've met, like husbands of friends, people who are just have a challenging time with your faith and culture, and especially migrating into the U.S. and navigating how to, what is my faith, what is my culture, all of that identity. And I think this story was one of those stories that I sat and God, the Holy Spirit was just like, this is it. And I know I cried through some of them while I was writing, and this was probably one of them.
Okay.
Yeah, because I feel there were points where I was like, wow, I have not seen that before. Or I had not made that connection. And I think that was really while I was writing. And I think that's really God. It's really the Holy Spirit like moving while I was writing it. So that's really what makes this. I feel like it was really a personal journey with me as I was writing it.
I love that. Yeah. I think another thing that stood out to me in this particular story was, again, the fact that we can wrestle sometimes with faith versus culture. And I think, especially as a Nigerian, I really relate to that, because there are aspects of, and I think just Christianity, the way a lot of us have learned it, is very Western Christianity. And there's so much culture that's part of our faith sometimes, and it's important to know that, I mean, they do affect each other, and that makes sense, but that they're different from each other. Mm-hmm. And there was a line where you talked about essentially acknowledging, this character Shea was talking to his friend, and he understood his friend's desire to validate what had been invalidated through colonization and centuries of denigrating Africans. And I just felt like that stood out to me. Like, we do need to acknowledge that, and then kind of, work with that and be able to separate the two.